Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here, and I really do appreciate your time. I'm gonna be talking about this whole thing going on right now on social media with Ciara and her new song that she's putting out. I don't know why she keeps trying to put out new music. I don't really understand it. Apparently people are upset with Ciara because they don't understand why she's trying to put out this music, which is, you know, promoting singleness and strong independence and all these sort of things that don't actually reflect her actual life as a married woman to a rich man who from the outside appears like he literally kisses the ground that she walks on. You have a lot of female artists nowadays who have put out music that promotes, again, singleness, strong independence, staunch independence, extremely sex positive culture, you know, hop from dick to dick to dick to dick. He only mess with a man if he can have, you know, if he has money, that whole sort of thing, right? Well, apparently what people are starting to realize is the same girls promoting these are more than half the time either in committed relationships, or they at least, I don't know, they in their real life they seem to have behavior that is a bit different. So like Meg Thee Stallion, Young Miami, you know, those two women, the City Girls and Meg Thee Stallion, are particular far as ushering in that hot girl summer culture as we know it.
We trying to live up to this hot girl, city girl shit, and our fucking leaders are in love. These bitches in whole relationships. These bitches teaching us how to hop on and off dicks, steal money from niggas while they sleep, and they over here living happily ever after. We keep standing at the bottom of the steps waiting for Megan and City Girls to drop more songs with more instructions on how to fuck our lives up. These bitches is rich and in love, bitch, and we broke and single. Bitch, you want us to be hot girls, but y'all having a Ciara summer. Shit.
I just find it to be interesting, and you know, it's deep.
This is for the girls that don't need no man. This is for the girls that's in love with themselves. This is for all the girls that done did it by themselves. This is for all the girls that's INDEPENDENT. This is for all the girls that be living stress free. This is for all the girls on a mission like.
Okay, so again, she's saying she's communicating independence, don't need a man. Do you, sis, that whole boss girl, boss woman perspective? I'm gonna be very honest in this video because I think that there's not enough conversations happening about how this sort of mindset has been marketed to young black women in particular, and specifically how it has been damaging to our mentality and how we look at ourselves and how we feel about ourselves in comparison to how other women in other communities feel about themselves. First of all, I think the biggest issue is for a lot of women, you know, those lyrics, those type of songs, you know, the hot girl summer songs, the city girl songs, they're entertainment. Like, what they're saying in those songs is entertainment and should not be taken seriously. You should not be out here hopping around, not allowing yourself to really get invested with someone, really get to know men before you even allow them access to your body, let alone your womb. This whole mentality that women don't need no man, we know that's extremely unsuccessful. We know that has not produced the results far as our families in the black community that we thought that it would have. But we basically know that that hasn't really done anything great for black women particularly, or the black community. This whole idea that we don't need each other, it doesn't work. I can also say, as someone who came up right before this generation of social media, where a lot of things are focused on, you know, feminism and activism and womanhood, and kind of really stripping down womanhood and taking away from womanhood and kind of creating this non-binary, non-specific, ambiguous definition of womanhood where everyone can partake in it, everyone can do this, everyone can do that, there's no real woman, there's no... While I can kind of understand why that has gone in that direction and why that helps some folks, I do think all of that does kind of play into why a lot of young girls don't have an identity, and they don't really know what to look up to. They don't have women or female examples of women, of black women, that they can look up to and really feel like, okay, I can really appreciate what your life looks like from here. Because a lot of times in the black community, when we see the young girlies, the new young girlies, you know, they're out here and we see them getting cheated on. You know, we're seeing single motherhood. So there's a lot of things to look at or examples to look at that aren't necessarily positive. On the other side, there's a lot of sort of rhetoric that supports these ideas that don't really bring a lot of women, if they're honest with themselves, what they actually want in real life. You know, again, there has to be an understanding, and there has to be some sort of media literacy in which you understand that a lot of these lyrics and a lot of these, like, even the reels and posts on social media, a lot of that is content. A lot of that is ideas that are usually being presented as just content. It's not necessarily something that that person who's presenting it to you personally believes in or how they personally act in real life. And I think that's why a lot of younger women, frankly, I feel like have been tricked into this mentality of thinking that anything regarding traditional womanhood, anything regarding traditional gender roles in relationships is automatically negative or weaker, or, you know, something that you should look down upon. And then pursuing these other things like career, education, those are the only things that you should pay attention to. And while of course that's great, and yes, you should absolutely, as a young woman, be invested in making yourself a well-rounded person and making sure you can provide for yourself and you have education and resources and things that really enrich you as a young woman. The reason why the dating pool is so messed up is because you have so many young women who don't know how to be in relationships with men. They don't know how to even play a role with a man that would be beneficial to them. You have a lot of women who, on one aspect, say they don't want to be in a traditional relationship. They don't want to be in, you know, have traditional expectations of them. They want their bills paid, though, you know. At the same time, I don't think people are really giving them the correct game, because listen, one of the things I always say when I speak to young ladies and when I'm talking to them about womanhood, you know, being a wife, all those sort of things, one of the things that I always will bring up is one of the most powerful things that you can really decide about yourself as a young woman. And I say a young woman because the earlier you decide this, the better, is what things actually matter to you. What is actually important to you? What can you do to sustain that? And take an account of yourself realistically when you look in the mirror, you know, when you look at your body, when you know, think of your personality. What can you realistically attract for yourself? Because if you're going after a certain type of man, he's going to have a certain type of expectations, right? When you speak to most women, they do express that they want a man to be a provider, to have leadership qualities, to be mature, to have life experiences, to, someone they could really trust their leadership, and someone who they feel that they could get behind and push forward, right? Most women say they want that in their head. They think that's what they want, right? Okay. However, what I don't think enough women talk about, which is why I'm choosing to talk about it, is to be with a man like that, you have to bring certain qualities to the relationship. You have to be willing to do certain things, and you have to be willing to maintain certain aspects of, as far as nurturing him and all of that thing, all of those sort of things. If you're realistically not wanting to do that, I don't really know. I don't really know how that's going to work for you. I think you have so many people on social media giving their opinions, telling women what they should want. So you have women on one aspect who are the staunch feminists, who are saying the male species in general, they're all bad. The male gaze is stupid. We don't care what men think. We don't care what men want. Men. And then you have women who have this mindset of, oh, well, use a man for what you can use him for. Get in, get out, move on to the next man. Men are, expendable. Get what you can, move on to the next one, right? And then you have the luxury girlies, the femininity girlies that are like, oh, this is how you get a man. Wear a pencil skirt, go to a cigar lounge, have natural nails, have natural... You have all these different, contradicting, some overlapping, but mostly contradicting takes and opinions. And I just don't think there's really a safe middle ground for young women, impressionable young women, to really latch on to and get advice and cultivate their own identities and their own feelings. It is very important for you to know what it is that you want, what it is you can maintain, and what it is you can attract. Because knowing those, knowing the answer to those 3 questions is going to really help guide you in your relationships. Because if you don't know what you want, if you don't know what you want to do, if you don't really understand what it is that you like, you're going to spend a lot of time with men or women that don't really fulfill you and don't really give you what you want. And in turn, that's going to cause you to look at love a certain type of way, because you're going to be like, oh, I don't know if I believe in love because da-da-da-da and da-da-da. And really, it's because you just wasted years of your life with someone because you didn't really know what you wanted to begin with. And then the other aspect of it is, again, what is it that you want to really do? When I turned 21, I was dating to marry. I knew exactly what I wanted. I knew exactly what I didn't want. And I knew what I was willing to do to get what I want. So when I met certain guys, regardless of how cute they were, regardless of how great, I could assume the sex would have been, regardless of how much money they appeared to have, if they did not have certain things that I realized from talking to them or observing them or looking at how they took care of their kids, that it wasn't going to work long term, I ain't even play with it. If I knew I couldn't really entertain you for a long period of time, I was wasting my time. If being a housewife freaks you out or scares you or makes you cringe, boo, that's okay. That means you don't want to do that. And you need to know that about yourself. And you need to make sure that when you're dating, and if you ever intend to be married, that this is something that the man that you go after is not expecting. Or if he is, you need to have a conversation with him about how that's not what you want. You would rather dedicate your time to working outside the home. And that's perfectly fine. But what I think is, again, the issue is if you don't know what you really want and you don't know what you can actually maintain and physically do year in after, year, that's how you have women who've been married for 15 years and they be on social media talking about something they graduated from a relationship, and they keep making all these cringy, weird TikTok videos where they don't have no clothes on. Learn yourself. Know what it is that you want. And also, you have to know what it is that you can realistically attract. Like, sis, you have to know what you can realistically pull. You have to know, like, do you have the sauce? Do you have the beauty? Do you have the personality? Do you have the mouthpiece to pull a certain type of man? And I'm not saying that this is just only for women. It's for men too. Okay? Social media have a lot of people thinking that they can go after people who are up here when they down there. And I'm gonna just be very real with you. What can you realistically attract? Be realistic about what that looks like for you. And if you want to change it, change it. If you don't want to change it, then again, go after what's actually attainable for you. To me, that is really a great place to start. Seriously, you won't spend most of your 20s wasting your time and experimenting and wasting your time. Like, please, that's crazy. But yeah, like, it's really important that you know what it is that you want. That's really what I'm going to end the video on, because that's what's the most important thing that I'm saying here is, if you want to be, one of those young women who fiercely went after, a career, and you dedicated time and finances and put other things on hold so that you can pursue the things that were important to you, then do that. But again, we cannot have both. You cannot dedicate a certain amount of time to your career and to your husband or your partner or your children. In the real world, unfortunately, I know people say women can have both, but truly, one typically suffers, or maybe not the word suffer, but one typically gets the most or more attention. And you as a young woman have to decide what it is that's important to you. Is a career important to you? Is hopping around, tricking off these men or having these men trick off of you important to you? Or is raising your kids important to you? Is being a good wife important to you? Neither one of these paths are perfect or the better path or the path that has less problems. They all come with their own issues. So all of these things are choices. One of the things that I will say that I personally did not care for about feminism, and maybe it was just the feminists that I interacted with very early on, but I felt like the whole point of feminism was that women have choices. Women should have the ability to have agency and decide what it is they want to do, what it is they want to pursue, how they want to live their life, how they want to dress, how they want to treat their own bodies. I don't feel like much of modern feminism focuses on that particular part of it. It focuses on a certain image or certain guidelines that feminists have to, or people who call themselves feminists have to adhere to. And I think when we start doing this, well, you have to do this, or you have to do that, you have to do this, you have so many young women who, again, will listen to Ciara's song and feel some type of way. Like, well, why are you telling me this when I see you doing it? The choice is not presented to women. It's not presented in media. It's not presented on social media. It's not presented in this sort of activist rhetoric. But I'm telling you, you do have a choice. You do have the ability to choose, but make that decision based off of you evaluating yourself. Again, what it is that you actually like, what it is that you can realistically maintain, and what it is that you can realistically attract. And I'm not just talking about men. I'm talking about if you want to be a staunch businesswoman, take corporate America by storm, but you don't have no organization skills, you have no time management, you like, girl, let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. Like, that's all I'm trying to say. Like, you have choices. You don't have to be something just because you see a reel about it, or just because Ciara sings a song about it, or just because Meg Thee Stallion sung a song. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. You can take part in whatever it is that you want to take part in. The important thing is that you authentically know what it is that you want to do. And based off of how well you know yourself, is this something that is realistically going to make you happy, going to make you fulfilled, and cause you to be okay with what you're doing? That's really what it comes down to. That's really what it comes down to. Because, again, all these extremes, all these choices people are projecting on social media, you have to remember, it's just content. It's just content. All right? Okay. Well, that's all I have to say on this matter. Thank you so much for listening. Take care.